Но я легко себе представляю, что многие люди скажут, что сложно поверить, что Путина можно обмануть.
Это, понимаете, каждого можно обмануть. Но хотелось верить, потому что в таком состоянии находилась Россия. Мы не могли не верить и не могли приступить к каким-то резким движениям, не проводя соответствующую работу в сфере безопасности и в сфере строительства вооруженных сил, и в сфере экономики и финансов. Но мы специально не готовились к этому. Мы искренне стремились все-таки решить проблему Донбасса мирными средствами. Но оказалось, что другая сторона думала и действовала иначе.
Поэтому спецоперацию не начали раньше, вот по всем тем причинам, которые вы назвали?
Да, конечно.
This is my video update on this Monday afternoon, May the 5th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the first round of the elections in Romania. And it was George Simeon who ended up in first place with 40.4% of the vote in the first round. So he will move on to the second round, which will take place on May 18th. And I believe he will be facing off against the mayor of Bucharest, I believe, ended up in second place. Second place was very close between a couple of candidates, but I do think that the mayor of Bucharest, who is the EU globalist's choice for these elections, Nicosur Dan. Nicosur Dan, that's his name, right? I know his last name is Dan because I think of Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan. Life is like a box of chocolates, Lieutenant Dan. Yeah, that's how I remember his name, but I think his first name is Nicosur. But the mayor of Bucharest, he's who the globalists and the EU is pulling for. George Simeon, we know George Simeon. He was supporting Georgescu. Georgescu was banned by the EU and by the globalists from running in the first elections were canceled, and then he was banned from running in these do-over elections, all because of Russian TikTok interference, which has been completely debunked. But still, they did not allow Georgescu to run in the do-over elections, so Simeon took over for Georgescu. He's running instead of Georgescu, but he is campaigning and even went to vote with Georgescu. So he's very much aligned with Georgescu. And he even said that if he does win the elections, then he will appoint Georgescu to a very high position in his cabinet. So the Romanian people have spoken. They were denied the opportunity for a free and fair election the first time around, which was looking like Georgescu was heading for a victory there. They were denied that opportunity, and now we have the do-over elections, and the people said, you know what, we will support Simeon and Georgescu, and that's what they did, with 40.4% of the vote, and with that much of a percentage, it will be impossible for Simeon to lose in the second round. With 40.4% in the first round, there is no way that he is going to lose in the second round. Boy, did the EU really screw up, the globalists and the EU. They really screwed this one up. They thought they had it figured out when they canceled the first elections because of their panic over a Georgescu win. And it has completely backfired. And now we have Simeon with Georgescu set to win the elections. Unless, of course, and this is a possibility, the globalists and the European Union decide to cancel these elections as well. It's possible, man. You'd have to be pretty crazy to cancel these elections because you're in absolute panic mode over Simeon. But who knows? Ursula, Kaya Kallas, Macron, they just might do it, Mertz. They just might say, you know what? Just cancel these elections as well. I'll give it a 5% chance. I'll give it a 5% chance. I mean, it's possible, but I highly doubt it. What will happen, most likely, is that because they can't cancel these elections as well, the second round will take place on May 18th. Simeon will win. And the EU and the globalists, they're going to then pile on the pressure on Romania and on Simeon. And they're going to try, in my opinion, they're going to try to turn him, try to get him on side, get him to the dark side, to the dark side. Like Meloni, they're going to try to do what they did with Meloni. You know, we've got tools, right? We've got tools. Ursula's going to sit down with Simeon, and she's going to say, we've got tools. Just like they did with Meloni, and they got Meloni on side for the most part. Meloni is with the globalists. She's with the EU. She's definitely with NATO. And that's the most important part for Romania. They have to make sure that Romania is 100% committed to NATO, committed to Project Ukraine. The globalists in the EU, they have a lot of big plans when it comes to Project Ukraine, and Romania is absolutely key when it comes to Project Ukraine and to escalating with Russia. So that's what they're going to do. That is exactly what the plan is going to be. And they'll allow a little bit of rebellion, like they do with Meloni. Like Meloni, they allow her to rebel a little bit. But for the most part, they got her on side, especially when it comes to NATO. She's absolutely committed to NATO and about 95% committed to the EU. They give her 5% to rebel, and then they bring her back in line. But that's what they'll do with Simeon. Anyway, that's the situation in Romania. That's how I think this is going to play out. But 5% chance says that they try to cancel these elections as well. I'll give it 5%, man. And if that happens, look out. If that happens, there's going to be a revolution in Romania. We'll see. May 18th. That is when we have the second round. Politico says, meet George Simeon, the hard-right Romanian election winner, who's banned from Ukraine. The nationalist chief vociferously supports Donald Trump and Giorgia Meloni, and he leads the presidential race ahead of May 18th's critical second round. He supports Trump. He supports Meloni. He's banned in Ukraine. Oh, man, he's banned from going to Ukraine. Wow. Hey, Podolyak, ban this guy. I don't like him. I don't like this guy. He will not be allowed to travel to Ukraine. True, we have not seen Simeon get on a train from Poland and travel to Kiev to pay homage to Zelensky. We have not seen that. That's a good sign, an absolutely good sign. So that's Politico, talking about the election in Romania. Let's do an update on Zelensky and the story that I talked about yesterday, where he warned world leaders, do not go to Moscow on May 9th. And if you go to Moscow on May 9th, I cannot guarantee your safety. That was the warning that Zelensky put out there, of which the collective West has not criticized Zelensky for this threat, for this warning. Not one country in the collective West has come out and said that Zelensky is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He should not be issuing warnings to world leaders like Xi Jinping or Lula, who will be at the May 9th Victory Day event. Not one leader has come out and spoken against Zelensky's comments. That tells you a lot. Not one world leader in the collective West. But word on the street is that the United States, they told the Zelensky regime via via diplomatic back channels, very quietly, they told the Zelensky regime, don't you dare try anything on May 9th when all of these world leaders are in Moscow. Don't you dare do anything. That is what the word on the street is. That is what the United States told the Kiev regime. And we are getting reports that China, get this, China contacted France and the UK, and they told France and the UK to tell your puppet, don't you dare do anything in Moscow while Xi Jinping is visiting. That's what they told France and the UK. So now we know 1,000% with certainty who pulls the strings for Zelensky. China did not go to Kiev. They didn't go to Ukraine. They called up Macron and they called up Stammer, and they said, you better tell your puppet to not try any funny business when Xi Jinping is in Moscow. He better not do anything when he's in Moscow. I can't confirm this 100%, but those are the reports that we are getting. Like I said, word on the street, everybody, word on the street. So Zelensky, he is demanding that the Ukraine parliament members, that they vote to approve the minerals deal, which is really not much of a minerals deal, but he wants the parliament members to approve this. And if they don't approve the minerals deal, then Zelensky is threatening them by saying that he will tell the United States, to revoke their travel visas to the US. Zelensky's going to demand that the United States do not give them travel visas if they vote against the rare earth minerals deal. The investment fund. It's not a minerals deal, it's an investment fund. I've talked about this in a video that I made a couple of days ago. It's an investment fund that's going to be set up in Ukraine. Will stay in Ukraine for 10 years, according to a post from the economy minister. I think she's the economy minister that traveled to the United States to sign this agreement. And according to her statements, this fund will be 50-50, split between the U.S. and Ukraine. It's going to remain in Ukraine for 10 years, far, far away from an audit or from any kind of oversight. And it's going to stay in Ukraine, and money's going to pour into this fund from Ukraine, from the United States, and it's going to stay put for 10 years. 10 years in the Ukraine washing machine, which will spin round and round and round. And we have the agreement. At least we have one of the three agreements. They say there are three agreements, and no one knows if the other two were signed. The first agreement was signed, but no one knows if the other two were signed. The main agreement, which is the limited partnership agreement, we have not seen that one, and that is the main agreement. The agreement that we have seen doesn't really tell us much of anything. It doesn't say anything at all, really. And the main agreement, it constantly references the LP agreement. We have not seen the LP agreement. From what I understand, the parliament has not seen the LP agreement. The Ukraine parliament, they have not seen the LP agreement. They have not read the LP agreement. And they're being asked to vote, to approve this, even though they haven't seen anything. Yet they haven't seen the main agreement, at least. But they're being asked to sign off on this. I wonder if we're ever going to see the limited partnership agreement, or if it's going to remain hidden. So that's Zelensky's warning. You better vote yes on an agreement that you have not seen or not read. If you don't, I'm going to tell the United States to not allow you to travel to the United States. That's how important traveling to the United States, I guess, is for Ukraine parliament members. I guess it's really important to travel to the U.S. Anyway, that's Zelensky. That's an update on that one. Oh, what did he post on X? He posted this on X. The war will end just as eternal dictatorships fall, just as any empire built on the principles of war, disrespect for people and their rights, disdain for human life comes to an end. Wow, I can't believe he's saying this about the empire that's about to fall. Is he talking about, what's he talking about here? Is he talking about the EU? Is he talking about the US? Is he talking about Russia? I think he's talking about the collective West. I can't believe he posted this about the collective West. The war will end just as eternal dictatorships fall, just as any empire built on the principles of war, disrespect for people and their rights, disdain for human life comes to an end. Who's he talking about? Lensky, who are you talking about in this post, man? Can't be Russia. Anyway, Putin, he has a documentary coming out which marks his 25 years since he burst on to the Russian political scene. 25 years ago, Putin began his journey to save Russia and to restore Russia to greatness. And he has definitely accomplished that. And they have a documentary coming out where he has been interviewed by his favorite journalist, Zarubin. And we're getting some segments of that interview. And Putin said some things in the interview, what we've seen on the interwebs, which confirm a lot of what we believe happened with regards to Project Ukraine and the West, going all the way back to the 2014 Maidan coup and the Minsk agreements. And let me tell you, 3 of the things that Putin said, which I think are pretty interesting, confirm a lot of our reporting and a lot of everything that we know when it comes to the history of all of this. Putin said that the West was trying to provoke Russia in the 3 years of the special military operation. They were constantly trying to provoke Russia. He means the long-range missile strikes, the ATACMS, the terrorist attacks, all of these things. They wanted to provoke Russia into making a mistake, and Russia would not be provoked. They wanted to try and provoke Russia when it came to nuclear weapons, perhaps using some sort of a tactical nuke or something like that. And Putin said that Russia did not take the bait on that one. He actually said that Russia does not need to use a nuke. He said that Russia can conclude the conflict, can conclude the objectives of the SMO without having to resort to any types of weapons like nuclear weapons. And then he also said that the collective West, they've been wanting to break up Russia from the moment that he entered the Kremlin. Their plan was to weaken Russia and to eventually break up Russia into 4 or 5 different countries. West wanted Russia to make mistakes and nuke Ukraine, according to Putin. There has been no need to use nuclear weapons in the Ukraine conflict, the Russian president said, adding, "I hope it won't be necessary." Putin stated that Russia has enough forces and means to bring what was started in 2022 to a logical conclusion with a favorable outcome. Russia standing alone against the West. The West has been long seeking to finish off Russia and partition it into several smaller countries. Vladimir Putin has said the civilized world decided that Russia, the civilized world, it's the civilized world, right? Anyways, this civilized world decided that Russia had weakened. Historical Russia, called the Soviet Union, had collapsed, and the remaining parts needed to be finished off. The largest of them was the Russian Federation, and it also needed to be partitioned into 4 to 5 pieces. I was responsible for the future of the country, Of course, I began working to ensure that this never happened, he said. Interesting statements from the Russian president. I don't think these are statements that surprise any of us, but it's just interesting to hear Putin say them. So the German publication Bild, they put out an article saying that peace is a nightmare for Putin. Peace is a nightmare for Putin, according to this post from Nexta. Western analysts warn that ending the war could spell disaster for Putin. Russia is stuck. Military goals unmet. Economy reliant on defense industry, and hundreds of thousands depend on the war economy without defense contracts. Russia risks recession. But the Kremlin's biggest fear, the heroes of the war, thousands of brutalized armed men returning to impoverished regions with no prospects. Experts warn of rising violence and crime across Russia. Are you talking about Russia, Bild? Bild, Nexta, German publication Bild. Are you talking about Russia? Or maybe, just maybe, you're talking about the European Union and what's going to happen when this conflict ends. And you're going to have a lot of angry, very well-armed Banderites pouring into Germany, into Poland, into Romania. I think that's what they're really saying in this publication. Sounds like a lot of projection. The Russian economy impoverished, in tatters, I tell you, tatters. Ah, yeah. Risks recession. Russia risks recession. Really? 4.5% growth, recession? Peace, man. Putin is scared of peace. Once peace happens, the tatters starts. That's Ursula's. You see, that's been Ursula's angle all along. She's been playing 28D chess. She wants eventually for Putin to agree to peace, and then that's when the tatters will come out. Oh boy, a lot of projection from Bild. That's exactly what's going to happen in the European Union. Well, the EU's already in recession. The economies are already a complete mess. When the war ends, it's going to be crazy, man. You're going to have a lot of weapons on the black market, a lot of well-armed Banderites. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to Europe, to the EU. So let's do an update on the Houthis. They launched a missile into Israel, which hit the Ben Gurion airport. From what I understand, the Houthis have launched in the last week 27 ballistic missiles. And one of the missiles got through. The other missiles were knocked down, but one of the missiles got through, and it hit a field. It hit the airport, so it definitely hit the airport. It was close to the airport, but it hit a field on the property of the airport. There were injuries, from what I read, and Israel has now said that they will retaliate. And I think that's going to be, if Israel does retaliate against the Houthis, I believe this will be Israel's first strike into Yemen, if that is indeed what they do. The U.S. has been hitting Yemen. They've been launching missiles into Yemen, but Israel has not gone on its own yet to strike at Yemen. It's been the United States that's been striking at Yemen. Yemen, the Houthis, they came out with a statement, and let me read you from Al Arabiya. Yemen's Houthis militants say they would impose a comprehensive serial blockade on Israel by repeatedly targeting its airports in response to Israel expanding its operations in Gaza. So the Houthis' message is that because Israel, they announced that they are going to expand the military operations in Gaza, And the Houthis' response to that is that they will try to impose an air blockade on Israel. So definitely an escalation happening there. We got the reports. I believe this is from the Washington Post. They reported that Mike Waltz, it was either the Washington Post or the New York Times, that Mike Waltz was actually not fired by Trump. He was exiled to the UN by Trump because what Mike Waltz was doing is that he was communicating with Israel and coordinating with Israel a way to get the U.S. into some sort of a conflict with Iran. And one of the ways they were going to get the U.S. into a conflict with Iran was to escalate with Yemen. And through escalation with Yemen, eventually you were going to get the pivot, which was going to be that in order to defeat Yemen, in order to deal with Yemen, what you really have to do is you have to go after the country that is sponsoring Yemen, that is providing Yemen with the weapons and the missiles, and that's Iran. And that was going to be the angle that they were playing, that Mike Waltz was coordinating with Israel, and that was what they were presenting to Trump. So they were going to use Yemen, the strikes on Yemen, in order to escalate into a hot war with Iran. And Mike Waltz was coordinating all of this, and according to the Washington Post, that's why he was exiled to the UN. He wasn't fired. He was exiled to the UN, which actually speaks a lot to Trump's fear of actually taking on the neocons. He was not going to fire Waltz because he doesn't want to fire a neocon. So what he ended up doing is he just ended up placing Waltz in the United Nations, a position which was previously held by another neocon, Nikki Haley. So Trump is definitely trying to prevent some sort of a hot war with Iran for the moment, but he's not ready to take on the neocons, which means that, if you ask me, it means that eventually Trump will fold to the neocons, and eventually he will end up in some sort of a conflict with Iran. The fact that he would not fire Waltz because of what he was doing, and he just sent him to the UN, means that eventually Trump is going to end up in some sort of a conflict with Iran. So anyway, that was the update from the Washington Post. And Trump was giving an interview to NBC, and he said that he doesn't want war with Iran. He says, "I am trying to avoid a war with Iran." That's what he told Kristen Welker, I believe is her name, Kristen Welker. And he said that what he wants from Iran is total disarmament, no nuclear weapons. Actually, he said he wants Iran to have no nuclear anything, which I think is a very big ask. No nuclear weapons, no nuclear energy, no nuclear anything. That was what Trump said in this interview. Trump pushes for total dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program. The US president indicated that he wouldn't allow exceptions for power generation. Total dismantlement. Yes, that is all I would accept, Trump said. He questioned the necessity of the Islamic Republic having nuclear technology for electricity generation. They have so much oil. Why do they need it? Civilian nuclear energy often leads to military wars, and we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple deal, he said. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon because the world will be destroyed, Trump added. I mean, his logic is flawed. Nuclear energy does not lead to a nuclear war, obviously. Obviously, that is not the case. So it's a big ask. He's not going to get it. There's no way that Iran would agree to this. But Iran has said that they do not want a nuclear weapon. They do not want to be pushed into having to get a nuclear weapon. The United States does not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Russia does not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Saudi Arabia does not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Everybody in the region, all the powers, do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, and Russia has said that they will gladly mediate and make sure that that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. And what Trump needs to do is he needs to get Russia on side if he is serious about avoiding a war with Iran. Russia is the key in all of this. But you're not going to prevent Iran from nuclear energy for power generation. That's not going to happen. That's a ridiculous ask. Anyway, that is the interview with NBC News. What else did Trump say? Oh, he said about Project Ukraine. He told NBC News that the European leaders, the EU leaders, were begging him to call up Putin because the European leaders, they told Trump that when they were trying to call up Putin, Putin would not answer the phone. If you believe that. You know, the leaders of the European Union have asked me so many times to call Putin because he does not answer their calls. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't think the European leaders tried to call Putin because the Kremlin would pick up the phone. I don't know if Putin would pick up the phone, but the administration, the Putin administration, would at least pick up the phone. If it was Schultz or Macron or one of these people, they would pick up the phone and talk to them. Putin, I don't know. I think Putin has better things to do than talk to the leaders of these vassal states. But they said, according to Trump, please call up Putin because he doesn't talk to us. He's not picking up the phone. That's what he said to NBC News. So speaking of mediation, Lavrov, he offered to mediate between India and Pakistan. So he talked to the Pakistan foreign minister, and he offered to mediate if they want. He said Russia is here, and we can try to mediate between you and India and try to prevent a conflict. We are getting reports that the water flow from India to Pakistan is being stopped. India said to have cut water flow to Pakistan after a deadly terrorist attack. Last month, New Delhi suspended the Indus Waters Treaty that ensured water sharing between the two rivals. We're getting reports that some dams have now stopped the flow of water from the Indus Treaty towards Pakistan. And Pakistan has said that if the water stops flowing, then this is going to be considered an act of war. So we'll see if Russia can play a part in mediating between India and Pakistan. Maybe Kaya Kallas. Maybe she will mediate between India and Pakistan. She did say that she talked to the Indian foreign minister and the Pakistan foreign minister, and she told them to sit down and negotiate and avoid escalation. Kaya Kallas. Who would you rather have mediating, Lavrov or Kaya Kallas? Let's do some clown worlds, and we can wrap this video up. So the clown world number one on this Monday. Yesterday was May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. That was yesterday. And so the White House, they posted an image, an AI-generated image of a very buff U.S. President Trump holding a red lightsaber. Yeah, you had the AI image of Trump as the Pope. Now you have Jedi Trump, completely ripped ripped Jedi Trump. But the problem that everyone has noticed is that was a pretty scary underpass. is that he has a red lightsaber, and everyone knows that follows Star Wars. They know that the red lightsaber is the color of the Sith. So they got the color wrong when they created this AI image. Trump posted on Truth Social, 2 posts on Truth Social. One post was about Alcatraz, and he said that he wants Alcatraz to become a federal prison again, which is, I don't think that's going to happen. I believe Gavin Newsom has already said that is not going to happen. Alcatraz is a huge tourist attraction. It was a prison. It was shut down in 1963 as a prison, and it is now a tourist attraction. The Rock, right? Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, The Rock. Yeah, so Trump is saying we need to turn it into a prison. Newsom and all kinds of California officials, they said, no way. This is a huge tourist attraction. Not going to happen. But that was the one post from Trump. And then he posted about Hollywood. Maybe there's some connection here. As he mentions Alcatraz, maybe there is some Sean Connery, The Rock, Alcatraz, Hollywood connection, because he posted on Truth Social about Hollywood. And he said that that any films that are made outside of the United States will face 100% tariff. That's what he posted. The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. Well, he is right about the incentives that are offered to production studios, to filmmakers in various countries. And actually in states as well. In the United States, you have certain states that offer incentives and tax breaks and all kinds of things if movies are filmed in their state. So that does exist. It exists inside the United States as the states compete for the big Hollywood bucks, and it happens outside of the United States as well. So he's not wrong about that, but 100% tariff? I don't know. There are certain productions. I imagine there are a lot of productions that can happen in the United States. Very easily happen in the United States. They don't have to go outside of the United States. But there are certain films and certain productions that do need to happen outside of the United States. I was thinking Mission Impossible, which was filmed in Prague, right? I mean, the script, everything was saying Prague. This is where you have to be. So in order to make the film as real and authentic as possible, of course you're going to film in Prague. So what happens? Does that movie get 100% tariff? Anyway, that's the latest messages from Trump. And finally, how we doing on time? All right, I can do one more. We're doing okay on time. Remember the AI video that the CIA put out in Mandarin, Chinese, in order to recruit spies in China to work for the CIA? And they created 2 videos and posted the videos on social media. Well, predictably, what happened is that the that China, some people in China, they did the same video. They created an AI-generated video, which pokes fun at the CIA video, and it's pretty well done. Video AI is getting really good, and boy, did they really spoof the CIA video really well. And they poke a lot of fun at the U.S. and at the CIA's attempt to recruit spies inside of China. So I just thought I would mention that as well as an update. That's the video, everybody. This is not an AI-generated video, even though some people in the comments every now and then they say that I'm not really walking anywhere, and all of this is AI, not AI. You see, not AI. I don't want to hit the poor tree to prove that this is not AI. I'm sorry, Mr. Tree. I didn't mean to punch you. Anyway, that's the video, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in this video update. There's a link in the description box down below. Take care.